Money Mitch, put him in a ditch, and Lexie Hull, eat on defense till you're full. The Indiana Fever have officially began to make moves, bringing Kelsey Mitchell back, Lexie Hull back, pairing them with CC and AB yet again. Now's the time, Kelly.
Money Mitch is back, Lexie Hull is back, and just like that, the Indiana Fever have made one thing crystal clear. They're going all in on a championship run, while Caitlin Clark is still playing on a bargain contract. But here's the part nobody's really talking about. This isn't a long-term window. This is a one-year opportunity. One season to maximize everything before the salary cap reality kicks in, and once it does, everything changes. The flexibility? Gone. The margin for error? Gone. The clock isn't coming. It's already ticking.
Chloe Peterson reporting the Indiana Fever have, as expected, sent out a core qualifying offer to Kelsey Mitchell and restricted qualifying offer to Lexie Hull. It officially gives Mitchell a supermax in exchange for exclusive negotiating rights and makes Hull a restricted free agent. The only way the Indiana Fever lose Lexie Hull is if they refuse to match.
Let's take a closer look at what really went down. At the 117 mark, the Fever made two key moves. They extended a core qualifying offer to Kelsey Mitchell and a restricted qualifying offer to Lexie Hull. On the surface, most fans hear that and immediately assume it's simple, both players are coming back. But the reality is, the fine print changes everything. That core qualifying offer to Kelsey Mitchell isn't some long-term commitment. It's automatically set up as a one-year supermax deal, meaning she gets the highest possible salary allowed under the current CBA. But only for a single season, nothing beyond that. And then there's Lexie Hull. Her restricted qualifying offer opens the door for her to negotiate with any team in the league. Sounds like freedom, right? Not quite. Indiana still holds all the leverage here. They have the right to match any offer she signs. So, when you break it down, the message is clear. The Fever are firmly in control. As long as they're willing to meet the market price, Lexie Hull isn't going anywhere.
Article by Sports Illustrated's Grant Young, Indiana Fever make first moves in WNBA free agency. The article goes on. With the 2026 WNBA expansion draft now in the rearview mirror, the focus becomes on free agency. And this is going to be particularly interesting for Indiana Fever fans to follow, given that several of the team's longest tenured players could have been playing for new teams, if the front office didn't feel like it made sense to bring them back. Superstar guard Kelsey Mitchell has spent her entire WNBA career in Indiana after being the number 2 pick in 2018 WNBA draft.
Here's where the timing becomes absolutely crucial. At around the 238 mark, everything starts to come into focus. Caitlin Clark is currently earning just $535,000, which, in WNBA terms, is still rookie-scale money. But that window is about to close. After next season, once she completes her second year, she'll be eligible for a Supermax extension, a deal that could push her annual salary past the $1 million mark. And she's not alone in that position. Aaliyah Boston is on the exact same path. Now here's the reality. Both of them are wildly underpaid right now when you consider the impact they're making not just on the team, but across the entire league. And that creates a rare opportunity. For the Fever, this is the moment. They have exactly one season, just one to stack the roster with talent without blowing past the salary cap. 1 year where they can pay Kelsey Mitchell top dollar, keep their core rotation intact, and still have the flexibility to bring in additional pieces. Because after that, the numbers stop working. Once you're dealing with multiple Supermax level contracts, building a deep, competitive roster becomes incredibly difficult. By 2026, the math turns unforgiving, and there's simply no way to carry 3 Supermax players and still maintain a strong supporting cast.
2026 as well. It appears that things are moving in the right direction when bringing both Mitchell and Hull back. Indiana sports reporter Tony East revealed this with an X post on April 7th that read, "Just in, the Fever have extended a core qualifying offer to star guard Kelsey Mitchell and a restricted qualifying offer to forward Lexie Hull." Now, speaking of Tony East's post, he clarifies in one of his tweets saying, "While I have not seen the new CBA myself operating on last year's rules, the core qualifying offer to Mitchell is effectively a 1-year contract at the Supermax. You get Kelsey Mitchell for a 1-year Supermax deal, and you see if you can get it all done this season." Again, Kelly Krauskopf, Amber Cox, do the right thing, bring in an Azurá Stevens, and let's get it cracking. As for Hull, This restricted qualifying offer means that while she can still negotiate with other teams in free agency, the Fever can match any offer another team gives her, which would...
And this is exactly where front office decision-making becomes make or break. Kelly Krauskopf and Amber Cox aren't just planning for the future, they have to be thinking one thing: championship or bust by 2026. Because once Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston sign those extensions, everything shifts. The entire structure of the roster changes overnight. Suddenly, you're looking at a big three that could consume nearly 70% of your salary cap. And that's where the challenge begins. The rest of the roster? It has to be built on minimum contracts, role players, and young talent, hoping your draft picks develop faster than expected. Now, that kind of strategy isn't unheard of. In fact, it's worked before. Teams like Golden State have built championship runs on a similar blueprint. But here's the catch: it only works with perfect timing and flawless decision-making. Every move matters, every contract counts, because right now, this is the window. This is the moment where the Fever still have the financial flexibility to build something special, and if they get it right, it could define the next era of the franchise.
Doing side quests, I'm going here and going there and commentating here, doing play-by-play over there, doing an interview over here. Stop it. Get your ass in the film room, put on post-2024 Indiana Fever game film, see what was transpiring on the second half of that season that had Caitlin Clark run the show, Kelsey Mitchell did her thing, Caitlin Clark did her thing, and this Indiana Fever offense looked high-octane, entertaining, potent, ready to go to work. I don't want to see... This is the thing. This is a lot of gripe with the whole Kelsey Mitchell thing. But we don't want it to turn into Kelsey Mitchell's team. We know she can score. Yeah, she can put the ball in the hoop.
So the big question becomes, what should Indiana actually do with this window? The answer might be more obvious than it seems. There's a move sitting right in front of them, and it makes almost too much sense. Azura Stevens. She's an unrestricted free agent, a proven veteran who checks every box. She can stretch the floor, protect the rim, and most importantly, play alongside Aaliyah Boston without clogging up the paint. She fits this roster perfectly. Now, picture this for a second. Caitlin Clark running the offense, controlling the pace. Kelsey Mitchell lighting it up on the wing, giving you 20 points a night. Lexie Hull locking things down as your go-to 3 and D specialist. Azura Stevens at the 4, bringing size, versatility, and shooting, and Aaliyah Boston anchoring everything inside. That's not just a solid lineup, that's a championship-caliber starting 5. That's a team that can go toe-to-toe with anyone. New York, Las Vegas, Minnesota, every top contender in the league. But here's where it gets tricky. Stevens is going to have options, plenty of them. She knows exactly what she brings to the table, and teams around the league will be lining up, which means Indiana can't afford to wait. They have to move fast, and more importantly, they have to sell more than just a contract. Because the real pitch? It's Caitlin Clark. It's the spotlight, the national TV games, the energy, the expectation of deep playoff runs. It's the chance to be part of something bigger, something that's building toward a championship right now.
Element of Aaliyah Boston, you add... There's no reason why that team shouldn't be a championship contending team. There's no reason why a team with Clark, Mitchell, and Boston alone, championship team. You add in an Azura Stevens, we're ready to get to work. Stephanie White, stay the hell out of the way. Amber Cox, Kelly Krauskopf, tell Stephanie White to stay the hell out of the way.
Now, let's shift to what really happens on the court, because building the roster is only half the battle. The real question is how it all comes together, and that's where Stephanie White steps in. She doesn't need to guess what works. The blueprint is already there. If you go back to the second half of last season, especially after the Olympic break, this team looked completely transformed. Caitlin Clark had full control of the offense, making every read, dictating the tempo, and creating opportunities on every possession. And the ripple effect was obvious. Kelsey Mitchell thrived without the ball in her hands, finding space, getting clean looks, and scoring efficiently without forcing anything. Everything just flowed. That version of the Fever? It was must-watch basketball. High energy, constant ball movement, everyone involved, and most importantly, it translated into results. They went on a run, pushed into the playoffs, and started to look like a team building towards something real. But here's the concern: you can't overthink this. Stephanie White doesn't need to reinvent anything. No complicated systems, no unnecessary changes that slow the game down. Because the film already tells the story. When Caitlin Clark is the primary decision maker, when the ball is in her hands and she's creating for others, the offense comes alive. The moment you drift away from that, when you overuse motion sets or try to force Mitchell into a primary playmaking role, the entire system starts to stall. So the formula is simple. Let your best playmaker do what she does best. Surround her with shooters. Keep players cutting, keep the floor spaced, and push the pace in transition. That's it. That's the identity. Intro set to. Now, here's what makes this entire situation so fascinating when you zoom out and look at the league as a whole. The Indiana Fever are essentially following a blueprint we've seen before, very similar to what Cleveland did during LeBron's second stint. When you have a generational talent on a team-friendly contract, you don't hesitate. You go all in. You stack the roster, push every chip to the center of the table, and make your run. But here's the twist. The WNBA doesn't give you the same financial wiggle room as the NBA. There's no luxury tax safety net, no way to simply spend your way out of mistakes. It's a hard cap, and once you hit it, that's it. No second chances. Which means every decision carries real weight. If the Fever commit big money to the wrong veteran, they can't just move on and absorb the loss they're locked in. That's exactly why this offseason matters so much. Every move has to be precise. Every dollar has to be intentional. Because this window, it's narrow and it's closing faster than most people realize. Now, let's zero in on Kelsey Mitchell, because her situation is more layered than it looks at first glance. She's been with Indiana since 2018, 7 seasons through rebuilds, coaching changes, front office turnover, and plenty of losing. She's earned the right to get paid, and more importantly, to compete for a championship. The Supermax offer proves Indiana values her, but it's only a 1-year guarantee. After that, she's right back in free agency without long-term security. So, from her perspective, the question becomes, why not explore multi-year deals elsewhere with established contenders? The answer comes down to one name, Caitlin Clark. Playing alongside the most talked-about player in women's basketball changes everything. It elevates visibility, boosts performance, and opens doors. Mitchell averaged 20 points per game last season, and a significant portion of that came from the gravity Clark creates her playmaking, her range, the defensive attention she demands. That's not luck, that's impact. Clark makes everyone around her better, and Mitchell understands that her best seasons might still be ahead of her, not behind her, as long as she's paired with an elite playmaker. Then there's the business side. Mitchell recently launched her own makeup brand, and being in Indiana right now, with all the attention this team is getting, gives her a platform that even bigger markets might not offer. Because the spotlight isn't on the market, it's on the player. And right now, Clark is the story. So that 1-year Supermax? It might actually be the perfect setup for both sides. Mitchell gets paid, competes for a title, builds her brand, and heads into next offseason with even more leverage whether she stays or explores new opportunities. Now shift to Lexie Hull, and the picture changes a bit. She's younger, still developing, and as a restricted free agent, she doesn't have the same level of control. But she might be in the perfect situation for her skill set. Hull is the definition of a 3 and D player. She doesn't need the ball. She doesn't need plays designed for her. She just needs to space the floor, knock down open threes, and defend the opponent's best perimeter player. And playing next to Clark, that's a dream scenario. The looks are there consistently. Clark's vision and passing range create opportunities most guards simply can't. That means Hull's efficiency stays high, her defensive value shines on a playoff team, and her league-wide stock continues to rise. The real question is, what happens if another team throws a big offer her way? If the number gets high enough, does Indiana match, or do they pivot? Most likely, they match anything reasonable. Hull fits too well. She complements the stars, doesn't disrupt the hierarchy, and her timeline aligns with the core. Players like that aren't easy to replace. You don't let them walk unless the price becomes overwhelming. And that brings us to the bigger strategic decision the front office has to make. Are they building for one championship run, or are they building for sustained success? Because those are two completely different paths. If it's a 1-year push, you go all in. You sign every veteran who can help right now. You trade future assets for immediate impact. You maximize this season and deal with the fallout later. But if it's about long-term contention, you take a more balanced approach. You protect your flexibility, develop your young talent, and avoid sacrificing everything for a single shot. The smartest move? Somewhere in between. You aggressively target 1 or 2 key veterans, someone like Azura Stevens players, who can elevate the team immediately. But you don't gut your depth, and you don't trade away your entire future. You build a roster that can compete now and still remain dangerous over the next 3 to 4 years as Clark and Boston enter their prime. Because here's the reality, Caitlin Clark isn't going anywhere. She's under contract through 2028. Aaliyah Boston is locked in as well. The foundation is secure. Even when this current financial window tightens, the core will still be there. The challenge will simply shift, finding smarter, more creative ways to build around them. And that's where coaching becomes critical. Stephanie White has to prove she can maximize talent, develop young players, and adapt her system as the roster evolves. Because in a couple of years, when the budget tightens and the lineup looks different, her ability to adjust will matter more than ever. But right now, the message couldn't be clearer. Championship or bust. The pieces are in place. The financial flexibility is there. The fan support is growing. The national spotlight is locked in. Everything is aligned for Indiana to make a real run. The only question is, will the front office be aggressive enough to seize the moment? Because those qualifying offers to Mitchell and Hull, they're not just routine moves. They're a signal, a statement of intent. Indiana is saying, we believe in this core. We believe in this timeline. And we're going for it right now. The next move is everything. If they land a player like Azara Stevens or another true impact veteran, this team instantly becomes one of the most dangerous in the league. If they stand still and run it back, they're probably a playoff team, but not quite a true contender. Kelly Krauskopf has built championship teams before. She knows exactly what this moment requires. The real question is whether she's willing to take the risk, spend the money, and push all the chips in while the window is still open. Because in professional sports, windows don't wait. And when you have a generational talent on a rookie contract, you don't get a second chance. The Indiana Fever have their core Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexie Hull. That foundation is set. Now, it's time to build a championship around it. The clock is ticking. One season to get it right. So what would you do? Who should they target in free agency?